Hello, hello. 1 second here. How's everybody doing? Trying to figure out why this is not going away. So give me 1 second here and we'll figure out why this is behaving the way it is. Hope you all are doing well. And sorry about the technical problems here. Let's do this. Hey, there we go. All right. Sorry about that. So, hello, hello. Welcome to the next edition of STATURDAY Chat Live here on April 23rd, 2022. I hope everyone is doing well. A couple of things before we get started. First thing first, just remember that I keep the stream around 30 minutes or so, maybe a little bit longer depending on how the conversation goes. I won't always necessarily get to every comment or question you put in the chat. The best way to follow up with me is probably on LinkedIn. So I can keep a record of chats and stuff like that. If I don't respond to you immediately, don't take it personally. As you quite imagine, I get several messages every day and it's hard to keep up with everything. But I do the best I can. So what is going on? It's a beautiful Saturday here where I am in Ohio. It's sunny, 80 degrees. And as you can tell probably here, I worked out in my yard yesterday and got completely crispy fried, sunburned. So today I'm going to take it easy. It's really hurts, you know. You don't really think when you're out working in the yard or something like that you're going to get like completely sunburned, like my arm is sunburned. But I did. So I'm going to try to take it easy today and physically recuperate and just kind of do some reading and all kinds of stuff. So what is going on the channel? So I promised that the last live stream I was working on a video. I hope to have it out after that previous live stream, but as is often the case, my mind working, I was like, you know what? There's something else I think is a good way to explain this and add to it. So I did that, added some different slides to that video. So now I have to record it here in the next few days. So it's still there, but I thought it could be better. So why not just take the time to make it better? And we'll go from there. I know that many of you, if you're in school right now, if you're in college, this is the end of the semester. It's also the end of the year for, I guess, high school students too, depending on where you are. So if you are in that situation, I just encourage you to take care of yourself during this last stretch of the academic year. Take care of yourself in terms of getting enough sleep, getting some exercise, and taking care of yourself emotionally, psychologically, and physically and stuff. So I encourage you to do that if that is your sort of situation. And of course, if you know anyone, or know anyone that is taking a stats class or something like that and they need some help in terms of some additional resources, always make sure to share my channel with them. That's why I do it. I do this channel to help people. I don't do it for the money, the glory, the fame, or nothing like that. I just do it to help people. So if you know someone that could use additional help, in your class or in your university or acquaintance, please share the channel with them. I would really, really appreciate that. All right. So some of you are already doing that. So please put in the chat where you are watching from. I always like to know where everyone is watching from. So let's see. Hello, Kunal. It's good to see you. Good to see you. Pretzers. I guess that's how you say that. Hi, bestie. I'll take it. Appreciate your videos a lot. I appreciate you watching. So the appreciation, trust me, is all mine. The appreciation is all mine. Alex, good to see you. Good evening from the Philippines. Yeah, I keep forgetting sometimes that for many of you, it's actually the end of Saturday, whereas here it's noon on Saturday. So I do appreciate you taking some of your time on your Saturday to hop into the live stream and talk to us for a few minutes. So appreciate it. It's been a great help for my stats class. Excellent. That is why I do it. Great to help you out. Love from India. Atul, trust me, the love back to India is tenfold. Without India, my channel would not be what it is. And I'm so glad to have met so many wonderful people from India and, be on a podcast with some students from India. And, a lot of you show up on the live stream. So whatever gratitude you have for me, I give it back to you all tenfold. And I hope to visit India sometime in the next few years and kind of see some things and obviously see some of you and say thank you. So I appreciate it. Here we go. See, I'm stuck on the inverse transformation of double exponential distribution. That's a mouthful. Not sure I can solve that problem here. Yeah, so that's probably beyond a live stream sort of question, and being stuck, that can mean a lot of things. So keep working at it, or if there's some way you think I could maybe help with that, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn and send me a quick example of what you're working on. On that note, I can respond to things quickly, so it's on LinkedIn or something like that. But if it's something that takes me half an hour to do, I'm probably not going to get to that because I just have a full-time job, 2 part-time jobs, a house to maintain, and just my own sanity. So it's much easier for me to respond to short questions the best I can, of course. So if you can keep them to that, the chances are increased that I could respond quickly. All right. Let's see here. From the Netherlands, another place I hope to get to really soon. I want to go over there so bad. There's so many places I want to go. I think with COVID and everything that a lot of travel, a lot of people wanted to do. It's sort of, you've been backed up a few years, and I hope to be able to do that over the next few years and make up for that time and everyone else. But the most important thing is that we're all safe and taking care of ourselves and each other. That's the most important thing. Nepal, excellent. Another place. So many places I love to go. Ramakrishna, I think I said that right. Ramakrishna, thank you. Hello, it's good to see you. Thank you for stopping by the live stream. Appreciate your support and your time. Teha, what's up? What's up? So I've been up to Starbucks in a while for different reasons, but Teha, I hope you're doing very well, and whatever you are working on at this current moment. So I know your job and school and everything else is pretty intense. So I hope you are doing well, and give my best to Dylan and all your friends that you study with up there. So maybe I will cross paths with you sometime very soon. All right. Yep, from India. Excellent. So yeah, lots of people from, lots of you are from areas in the world that it's actually Saturday night. So I do appreciate that very much. So I know there are probably better things to do on a Saturday night, but I do appreciate you stopping by. All right. So I'm going to go through the chat here and see what else some of you might be saying or asking, of course. And just remember that this live stream doesn't have to be specifically about statistics or something like that. If it's something, related or some other topic, you can feel free to ask. And if it's something I want to talk about, then I will put it up on the screen. If it's not something I want to talk about, then I will not. So, it doesn't have to be about statistics or anything like that. All right. I'd like to get some of your all's, feedback. I mean, a lot of you all work, in these sorts of fields and stuff like that. A lot of weird things have been happening out of the ordinary in terms of, economic things and business things. So one, if some of you are out on the job market and sort of looking at switching positions or starting a new position, how's that experience going for you? I'm really, really curious. I know we have a lot of viewers on the channel that are in, work in data science and similar fields. And I'm just curious how you are finding that process going, some of the things you experience in your interviews. I know a lot of people that watch the live stream and are on the channel and follow me on LinkedIn are also individuals that are in that similar boat. So if you or anyone or you have other sort of insights into the process of just, the job market right now. This is a time of year when a lot of students are getting out of school, so they're looking maybe for their job right out of school and are looking for some sort of guidance. So if you have some of that insight, please put it in the chat and we can discuss a little bit on that. I know some of the weird things I see is that people call this the Great Resignation, but I don't think that's really accurate. I think it's really other people that call it the Great Reshuffling. I think that's actually more true. It's very common to go on LinkedIn and you see like a job posted, and just on LinkedIn alone, it says this job has 1,134 applicants, which is crazy, right? I mean, that number of people, part of it is because if it's like LinkedIn Easy Apply, you can just click a button basically and apply. It's very effortless. But, the number of people, it's just a great sloshing around, I think, of people post COVID and other situations that are just making people just want to look for, you know, a position that better matches their priorities in their personal life, that maybe they can increase their salary. It's very true, I think, that unfortunately, the best way to increase your salary is to leave a job to a new one. Whereas, if you're just looking at that, there are many other things about a career and a job and stuff like that. But if you're just looking to increase your salary, usually that is most often accomplished by switching jobs. Whereas a current employer may not even provide a compensation raise that covers inflation. So unfortunately, that's sort of the way the system works. And a lot of people are just looking to do that because of financial situations, of course, but also just quality of life sort of situations. But it's just really weird to see some of these jobs pop up with over 1,000 applicants. I'm not even sure how you begin to sift through that many applications. It really is just a mountain. I don't know how you even start to climb if you're working, in a hiring position. So yeah, exactly. Easy to apply. It really depends. Some companies are on the modern train and realize that applicants don't want to upload their resume and then retype all the same information that they just put in the resume into their, form fields. I mean, it's really frustrating. That's not necessary in today's day and age. There are many other technologies you can do without duplicating a person's efforts. So, yeah, it's just it's a lot. So, all right, JP, since there's only 10 or so here, JT, hello. Yeah, live streams, the live streams usually have, between 7 and 12 people, and then people go back and rewatch it, of course, later. So, other topics I want to get your thoughts on as well. All right, Jesus, hi, great job. It's good to see you. Thank you. Appreciate the thumbs up. Appreciate you being here. The other thing is the Netflix sort of fiasco that happened, unfortunately, for the shareholders of Netflix, of course. I mean, their stock has dropped, by half, if not more, at this stage. And I'm curious what you feel about, those types of businesses, streaming services, and your relationship to them in general. That's something that I'm interested in. So I'm curious sort of what your thoughts might be. So yeah, we can have any of these chats about subjects related to business in addition to any stats sort of stuff. There's a lot going on right now. All right. See if I can answer this question by Andy. Is the value calculated by the t-test function in Excel a p-value? And if this value is lower or higher than 0.05, do I make my decision on accepting or rejecting the null hypothesis? So a couple of things there. In traditional statistics, we don't use the word accept unless we do some other more complex controls in our type 2 error. Okay, or we control our error via sample size, I should say. So we either reject or fail to reject the null hypothesis. So it's reject or fail to reject the null hypothesis. In Excel, the t-test, there might be, I've not used the actual t-test function, but I'm going to pull it up just real fast to... Yeah, so in Excel, the t.test function returns the probability associated with a student's t-test. So if I understand it correctly, yeah, we have array 1, array 2, tails, and type. So yes, you're going to have, one column of data, one column of data, another column of data. That's the two arrays. tails, which will be, upper, lower, or both, and then type. So let me, yeah. Yep, that's what it is. So yes. So depending on how you set up your t-test, it's going to return for you a probability. If you set your alpha at, for example, like you said, at 0.05, then if that value is below 0.05, then the null hypothesis, we don't fail to reject it. Okay, so what we're saying is that that test is significant. And that means that there is a statistical difference between the two samples. So usually we set up our hypothesis in that case to be sort of not equal. So mu sub 1 equals mu sub 2. And then the alternative is that they are equal, depending on how you want to set it up. So I'd have to go into Excel and kind of see how the output, sort of goes. So usually the null hypothesis, we assume that the difference between those two things is 0. Therefore, there is no difference. If the p-value is below 0.5, then we reject the null hypothesis and we say that there is a difference between the two. So that's a lot of word salad right there, but I was trying to go into Excel and kind of see how it accepts the inputs in the t-test function. Usually when I do a t-test in Excel, I will use the analysis tool pack, and it kind of does all that for you as part of the tool pack process. All right. Okay, so I hope that makes sense, Andy. But basically what you just have to keep in mind is that if the p-value is below 0.5, then the t-test is significant. And therefore we would reject the null hypothesis that says there's no difference between those two samples. All right, pull that down. What else we got here going on? Okay. Thumbs up. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Yeah. Andy says, thanks for your help. I understand it more now. And remember that when we're talking about hypothesis testing, we're really conducting a test on the state of the world as we understand it, or as it is claimed to be. So in a t-test, what we are testing is whether or not those two sample means are equal, or if there is a difference, if that difference between those two samples is within what we would expect just due to chance, just due to random variation in our sampling. So you can think of two normal distributions, okay? If there's no difference between those two means, then the distributions for both of those samples will largely overlap. Okay, you're probably not going to be able to see my overlapping distributions. However, if there is a difference between those two means, the sample means, then those two distributions will spread apart. And then only the little tails of the distributions will overlap. And that's where we get our sort of p-value from, right? So think of two normal distributions that kind of start overlapping, and then if there's a difference, they spread apart, and then the tail of one distribution overlaps slightly with the tail of the other. And that's when we reject the null hypothesis, and it seems that there is a difference between the two. Word salad, I do apologize, but that is what it is. All right. What else got going on? Dwipayan, hope I'm saying that correctly. Again, if as I always say, if I do not pronounce your name correctly, I do apologize. Of course, living in the United States, I don't, see or say the names from other parts of the world very often. So I do apologize if I mispronounce it. I do my best, but everyone deserves to have their name pronounced correctly. So you can always correct me if I do it wrong. So Dwipayan, online MSc degree from UK University is valid. Well, a few things. It's like a decision tree, right? We'll go all statistics. So having a degree versus not having one, I think, is more valuable to have one. Let's start there. Okay. online degree. I think now, in our current time right now, the difference between the perception of the value of sort of an in-person degree versus an online degree has narrowed. I think in the past there has been the assumption that an in-person degree is more valuable because not only do you take classes, but you also have, other intangibles about, being on campus, or on campus most of the time, interacting with your other students in classes, the discussions that can take place, often take place in those sort of settings, interacting with your professor in person. There are things that you can pick up and learn and ask and sense when you're there in person. So I think that there is a great value in that. And I'm a big proponent of in-person learning. Now, with everything that's happened the past few years and the increase in the availability of technology, the improvements of technology, I think the perception between those two things has narrowed. Also, the perception between having a degree and not having one is also narrowed. I'm still a proponent, regardless of what some tech gurus say. I do think there is a value in having the degree, either a bachelor's or a master's degree, that goes beyond what just a skill-based sort of career or a skill-based thing gives you. So I know that there are some, some tech people that are kind of poo-pooing the idea of a degree, whether it's a 4-year or a master's degree. I think that's a mistake. All but in some cases. I do think there's some things that can be the case. And I also think that some of the same people who are saying you don't need a 4-year degree also implicitly, whether they say it or not, when looking at job applicants, if you have a 4-year degree from a institution that's known or well recognized versus someone who only has like a portfolio of work, they even the people that say you don't need a 4-year degree implicitly carry more weight to the person with the degree, whether they say it or not. So, and of course, when the economy is like it is now, and they're just looking to fill seats and they need people, the guidelines that they want are going to be a little bit more lax. They're going to be they're going to be open to being a bit more lax with requirements that sort of come in. But of course, as soon as the economy shrinks, which it's probably going to do over the next 12 months, then the people with degrees, I think, have a leg up. The answer is not having only skill-based demonstrations without a degree. The goal is to have skill-based demonstrations with a degree. Just because you're in a college program doesn't mean you don't have skill-based evidence of your work. But that's my personal opinion. That is just me. Of course, I am biased in some way because I am, I've worked in education my entire life. So, that's part of my bias, which I bias in the sense of I value in-person education, but that's just me. So that was a long answer to your question. But I think the most important thing is just to learn, be able to demonstrate your learning. So you have some sort of portfolio or you have some sort of website or some way of demonstrating, what you have learned and what you can do. So depending on what sort of job you're doing, it could be a collection of scripts, that you've written, some programming that you've done. It could be, a report or a Tableau dashboard or a Power BI dashboard that you've done, but something that's demonstrable, whatever else it might be. For me, it's my YouTube channel, right? Like, if I were ever to switch jobs or do whatever else, I can say, look, there's 262,000 people value what I do. And that's just the subscribers, by the way. So that's YouTube is kind of my portfolio on my ability to teach and explain and create instruction and stuff like that. So I think it's just a case of demonstrating everything. But having a degree is better than not having one, in my opinion, whether it's online or not. If online is the best way to do it, that's most convenient, that's better than not. From UK University, I don't know, the specific university, but every program, every university should be vetted for its accreditation status. So is it accredited? If whatever country that university is in has accreditation, what types of other jobs are graduates from that university doing? So sometimes on LinkedIn, I think on LinkedIn, you can actually look up like students who went to a university and you can see what kind of jobs they're doing or where they work. And that gives evidence to whether or not students who graduate from that university end up in, quality jobs. So you can do that as well. Okay. So you said, I've already done a bachelor in engineering, in computer science, I assume. I guess that's what CS means. Want to do PG. You might have to tell me what PG is. Off the top of my head, I can't do the acronym. Is University of York good? As far as I know, University of York is good. I've had some people from University of York, I think, connect with me on LinkedIn, and I think I follow their LinkedIn page. They're offering an MSc in data and analytics online. I am data engineering in a FANG. What will you suggest? I suggest you work backwards. Work backwards. So like I said, if whatever position or type of position you ultimately want to do in your career, start there and work backward. So what path have other people taken that have landed them in that position? So work backward. You can also talk to people in those businesses and those industries. LinkedIn, of course, is the best place to do that, and pose this question. So how advantageous is it to do sort of a master's level degree in a certain field if I want to work in here? It's a bunch of conditionals, right? If I want to do this, should I do this? If that, then should I do that? Right? So, but I will say too that, I'm based in the United States and our education system is slightly different than over in the UK. So I'm kind of spitballing in the general educational sense. Okay. All right. Kratos, hello from Syria. Hello. Hope you are doing very well. Thank you for stopping by. Appreciate the upside down smiley face. That pretty much sums up how I'm feeling right now. My body is a bit broken from working outside all day yesterday and sunburnt to a crisp, but I appreciate the upside down smiley. Okay, how are we doing here? You all are a great group of people. You are awesome. So I'm going to get to a couple more comments that have popped up, but I also want to do a couple of house cleaning things. So keep in mind that any super chats on YouTube and any PayPal tips are welcome. It helps the channel a great deal. Of course, I have the PDFs that you can buy. Now's the time when a lot of people purchase those for their final exams and stuff like that. So you can find those on my website. Again, I just do it to help support the channel. It's not like I'm trying to rob you of any money or anything like that. So if I can share my screen. Share screen. I'm going to share this. All right. So just really quickly, so here on my website, I have all my playlists in sort of a table of contents if you're not aware of that. So if you're looking to watch a topic from sort of beginning to end, you can find that here easily. YouTube does not do a great job on YouTubers' web, home pages about organizing content. So this is a great place to go if you just kind of want to like look at it like a book table of contents. They're all right here, including the live streams are at the top. You can go back and watch those if you're so inclined. If you're looking for slides that you can purchase for a few bucks here and there, make this bigger. There we go. So looking for slides is right here. These are the 4 I have slides for. And the reason I have only those 4 is because by far, those are the most viewed playlists on my channel. So those are the ones I created when I had time to do them. But you can, click on the page and you can see kind of what you get there. Oops. Okay, I will fix that. But here, what you can do is which one of these is. I'm glad I did this today because I got to figure out what that is. It's basically it's the slides with notes pages and the transcript and links to the video where that actually starts. Okay, so I have an example here. I'm not sure why that's doing that, but I will look at that today. That's what it is. Okay, and I will figure that out. But yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing that, and I'll figure out this little plugin issue on my website after this. Okay, go back to there, go back to comments. All right. Yeah, so Super Chats, PayPal tips are welcome. I have a GoFundMe that I kind of have hanging out there. And I hate doing stuff like this during live streams, but, the channel has to survive. It has to be worth the time to put into it. So, yeah, there are different ways to support the channel. Donations, you can get the PDFs. I have some merchandise on my YouTube channel you can look at. But yeah, so I will stop with that. I'm gonna take this off. All right, go back to comments. YouTube videos are very informative. Good. Thank you. Dr. Safai. Hope I'm saying that correctly. Thank you very much. You are welcome. Let's see. Venkatesh, good to see you, my friend. See you back. Hope you're doing well. Would you be starting time series, please? When I have time, my friend. It's just a matter of time. That is one of the topics I'm very interested in doing some videos on. It's just a matter of time. I have to spend my time first on things that pay my bills. And then when I have a little bit extra time here and there, that's when I work on the YouTube stuff. Just, a little bit of behind the scenes, inside baseball type things. So I know it's different for each YouTuber, but my YouTube earnings are down by half right now. Part of that is just the economy. A lot of companies are pulling back their ad spend. I do think one of the leading indicators of an economic recession is YouTuber AdSense, because companies start pulling back their ad spending when they sense or feel a recession coming. It's always happened in the almost 10 years, which 10 years will be like a couple weeks from now that I've been on this platform. They start pulling back their ad spend, and it's almost complete. Speaking of time series, Venkatesh, if you draw out economic recessions with YouTube AdSense earnings, you're probably going to see them almost completely overlap, because that's what they do, But yes, back to your question, I will get to some time series stuff again when I have time. It is something that I have on my list of things I want to do, So, but my priorities, to be quite honestly, are my daytime job, of course, my day job, and then my 2 side jobs are YouTube, and I do some voiceover stuff. And the voiceover stuff, honestly, just pays the bills better per unit of time. So I get to it when I can. But thank you. Can you suggest which university online degree is best? When I search, a lot of results appear. It's something I can't really answer that question for you. There's so many. The best way to learn to find that out is just to ask around people who have taken programs, to look at job placement metrics for online programs. I will pitch one though. So I'm in Cincinnati, Ohio. I know that the University of Cincinnati has an excellent online degree at the master's level. We have a lot of large businesses based here and around Cincinnati. Procter & Gamble is based in Cincinnati. I think Macy's is still here. Kroger is based here. So, and there are several others, but there are a lot of large businesses that have bases here. I know the University of Cincinnati actually integrates some business relationships into their program. And actually, I think Teja was here. Teja, I do believe, goes to UC, University of Cincinnati. So I know that they have a great program that you might want to check out. I know some of the professors there because they actually are authors on some of the books that my product team, not my product team, the product team I work on at Cengage does. So, but there are so many online degree programs, it's impossible to even know where to begin. But there are some reputable companies or magazines or whatever else, I'm sure, put together lists of some of the best sort of placements. But again, what you can probably do is start with kind of the type of job you want to do and work backwards. So, is there a pattern among the schools that those individuals in at that company take, or have gone to? You can start there and work backward, from there. All right. All right. Brandon, can you talk a little about the differences, according to you, that exist between analytics and statistics? I can try, but I'm going to get a drink of water. Oop, I have something fall in my cabinet here. Okay. So, in many ways, analytics is the second part of statistics in my view. Since, I work at Cengage in my day job, what I often see is that schools will do statistics first and then follow that with an analytics course. Now, there is some overlap. There's like a Venn diagram, right? So traditional statistics deals with the basics of obviously descriptive statistics, hypothesis testing, interval estimation, goes through ANOVA, simple regression, multiple regression, stuff like that. So that's sort of traditional statistics. Analytics builds upon that. And what I see in my day work and just by observation doing the stuff I do, like what analytics is has not really solidified yet. So some analytics programs and courses have sort of one variety and flavor to them. Another one kind of has another variety and flavor. But in general, what I would say is that analytics will get into more learning around things like data visualization. So you might see more components of data viz in an analytics type course, right? Because it's all about taking the data and then turning it into something that people can interpret, people can use and make decisions from. Often that's sort of some sort of visualization dashboard. So that's one thing. Also in analytics, you might go into some basics of linear programming and optimization. You might go into Monte Carlo simulations. You might go into some basic data cleaning and data mining. So really, analytics is taking traditional statistics, of which there's an overlap with analytics, and then building out some other pathways sort of from that traditional statistics. But that's just one flavor, Some schools might go more into the programming side. So the analytics course at some universities might go into R and or Python. It just depends. So yeah, it's like a two sequence. I see it as a two sequence course. You have traditional stats, and then you would have analytics after that. And that analytics part of the sequence can kind of take different flavors. Whereas traditional statistics is pretty set. It's been around, obviously, for decades and decades and decades. A traditional stats class basically covers the exact same thing in the exact same order for the most part, whereas analytics is still kind of being defined. It's still kind of, you know, being determined what an analytics might be. Okay. All right. So, which websites do you visit for machine learning research papers? I don't read a lot of research papers at this point in my life. I did when I was in school many years ago, honestly. So I'm probably not the best person to ask for this. I'm not sure if Google Scholar would be a good place to start, or any other any other collection. There is what's it called? There is an organization or website that publishes open source research. The name is escaping me. I know the answer to this. Someone in the chat might. But there's a website or organization that doesn't put research papers behind a really expensive paywall. So you can look at that. I do admit with this, now that I'm not like a graduate student anymore, I'm not really reading research papers. I do watch some YouTube channels that talk about some of the topics in different kinds of research papers, but I myself don't go really searching for them. Another place you could maybe look is in the bibliography or footnotes of textbooks, of trade books, of other articles, and see kind of where those footnotes and the references kind of lead. And you'll see patterns in the type of journals that those come from. So that's a good place to start. Okay, we're doing well. My class has done descriptive stats, and I did an intro to linear models. Yep. Visualizations are soon. The next course has inferential stats. What else would you ensure that students know? So, is it just classic statistics course, or what exactly is the scope of the course? And then I can maybe comment more. But a traditional statistics class follows a very common pattern. Descriptive stats, like I said, and then I might get into some probability. Then we talk about, sampling distributions. Then we talk about interval estimations, hypothesis testing. Usually then we get into analysis of variance, simple regression, and then multiple regression. And that's usually where traditional statistics sort of starts. If you want your students to go into a more machine learning route, obviously the traditional stats are important, very important, of course. Yeah, so just classic stats. So the question is, where do you think your students might go after that course? So if you feel comfortable doing it, you can expose your students, if you're not already, to either R and or Python, just the basics. Just get them kind of used to working in there if you think that might benefit them. Tableau Public for visualizations. Excel can do good enough visuals, of course, and Power BI. One of the easiest routes into like machine learning is just to learn simple regression and logistic regression. Okay, because my opinion, that is by far the best entry into machine learning. So you have simple regression or multiple regression, either one. So you have that sort of regression-based continuous model. And then logistic regression is highly related to that, but it's a classifier. So you have two very easy to learn, very simple to understand and interpret algorithms, linear regression and logistic regression, that expose students to continuous predictions or continuous realm, and logistic, which exposes them to a classification realm. And each one of those, obviously those are two large areas, and the regression routes are the two simplest ways to go from there, if you want to do that. So it just depends. So that's my sort of my 2 cents. But if it's just classic stats, as you say, then I think the curriculum for classic traditional stats is pretty set. It's been that way for decades. All the prerequisites are in order. It's well established. It's, well sequenced. One topic after another, just like I do. If I pull this back up, one sec. Yeah, so if I pull this back up, you'll see that my playlists follow how you would teach a traditional statistics course in order. And of course, the videos within them are in order. So that's kind of a table of contents for a traditional stats class, quite honestly, are my video playlists and topics. Okay. All right. Okay. Yes. Did I say P&G, Procter & Gamble? Yes. Hard to mention Cincinnati without it. Absolutely. So obviously P&G is headquartered downtown Cincinnati, but also about a mile from my house is a massive research center. You can see it from space. It's so big. So Procter & Gamble has a huge footprint here in Cincinnati. Absolutely. Okay. All right. How are we doing on time? Good. Just going to do my other chats here. I'm going to get wishes from India. Your videos are very informative. Thank you very much. I do appreciate that. Absolutely. Very, very happy for you to be here. I'm glad that the videos are informative, for you. All right. Going through the chat here. See if there's anything I missed. Yeah, so if you have any other questions or comments, now's the time. I'm probably going to go maybe 10 more minutes, if not less. So that would be an hour if we do that. So make sure to drop your comments, questions, whatever in the chat now, so I have time to answer them. So yeah, thanks. This is helpful. The skills can vary a lot from cohort to cohort. That's absolutely true. I also forgot to mention that some basic Excel skills are important, I think, in a statistics course, even though Excel is not a statistics program, computer program. It has built-in stats things, but a spreadsheet program is not the same as a stats program. There are other pieces of software that could be beneficial. Jump, if you get your hands on it, is great. So JMP Jump is good, but I think most professors now are or most instructors are trying to stick with stuff that is free to low cost, that students are likely to use in their careers, that they have access to readily. So oftentimes that's just Excel with the data analysis tool pack, to be honest. All right. Okay, some more comments came in. All right. Venkatesh, how do you translate stats output to business language for business team? Do I recommend any book to practice by way of tips? I have... I'm not sure where it's at, Venkatesh. I have a book that's on data storytelling, which I think is good. I'm trying to see if I can see where it might be. Yeah, sorry to look over here. I don't mean to be rude. Yeah, I have a book. I have a book on data storytelling that I think is a good place to start. I actually think it's called Data Storytelling, but I'm not sure where in my bookshelf it is right now. That's a good place to start. So I think the important thing here is, Venkatesh, is to express things in the way that the analysis or output informs a decision. So something like, based on the results of this analysis, we can determine that there is a difference or isn't a difference between these two things. Or, based on the results of this analysis, these inputs seem to explain, seem to make the best prediction for this output variable. And actually, here's another Venkatesh, here's another trick. When you're writing up or we're going to present something to a business team, go try to explain it to a 10-year-old. Go try to explain it to someone who has no idea what the hell you're talking about. Okay? If you can take your results, your stats output, and explain it to a kid, a child or adolescent, or someone who has no idea sort of what you're talking about, then you can explain it to your business team. So what I try to do, and that's how I approach my teaching, right? I assume the student that is watching my video or in the past was in my class or doing tutoring knew nothing about what we were going to learn. And I started to talk and explain it to them, not in a paternalistic way, but explain it to them like they were a child or a novice at this. So I think when you're talking about stats output or some analytics output for a business team, they want to know the story. They want to know the narrative. They want to know what actions they can or should not take based on the results of your analysis. I also think it's important to also qualify or put some disclaimers on your analysis. So if the output or the recommendation is very strong, then go with that. If it's a slightly weak model or prediction or whatever else, you have to qualify. Even though it might be significant, you have to say, based on the data we had, while the relationship or the prediction, is significant or whatever, or this classifier did a good job, there is still a lot of variation around the answer or the recommendation. So I would just recommend that. Tell us the end user in a business needs to know what they should or should not do and why. And then if they want to know more, then you can go into more of the technical aspects of that analysis. But in the end, decision makers need to know what to base their decisions on. And that's sort of the analyst's role based on the data they have to work with. But in the end, I think you're telling a story. It's a narrative, that you can write up or put in an email or whatever else. And I do say it's important to put some qualifying language around certain things, depending on how you feel about what your stats output or analysis did. And that's how I always approach my work. If I'm really certain about something, I will say so. If I think, the analysis recommended something or had an output that is at best somewhere between a coin flip and, 75% sort of confident in the analysis, I will sort of say that, But if the analysis or the stats output basically says whatever decision you make is a coin flip, then you got to say that too. Or if it comes out that that's really not significant or you don't have enough of the right data, you got to say that. But in the end, I would just say, tell them the story, tell them what they need to know as quickly as possible based on the data you had to work with and the results of that analysis. And if they want to know more, then let them know that you're more than happy to go more in depth. So speak in narratives, speak in metaphors, speak in other ways that might make it easier to digest. All right. Can you please recommend some books on statistics for a beginner? I can, and I do think some of these I can reach. So a good place, honestly, a good place to start. I know people make fun of these books, but sometimes you can just get a For Dummies book. There's Statistics 1 and Statistics 2 for Dummies. And I don't really like that name. But that's a good place to start if you're looking for books. Now, I'm not, obviously, obviously YouTube has plenty of videos you could watch about stats for beginner. But also, once you go beyond trade books like, Stats 1 and 2 for Dummies, you can find a great, well-known, like textbook, used, whatever else. So obviously, the disclaimer is that I work for the company and I work on the product team that makes this. So this is the Statistics for Business and Economics book that I work on in my day job. I know the authors real well, our team real well. So obviously this is designed for students, mainly business students, who maybe not have not been exposed to stats before. So it's written in I was using this book, a previous edition, but I was using this book years before I ever knew what Cengage was, who the authors in this book were. I was using it years before I ever even had any idea I'd work for the company that makes this book, or on the team that makes this book for that matter, because the way it's written is so clear. The clarity of the writing is, it's just, I can't say enough of the clarity of the writing. That's why I've always used this book years and years ago as the basis for my tutoring, my teaching, and whatever else. So this is the 14th edition. 15th is in production right now. But if you can find this Statistics for Business and Economics book, any edition, probably back to maybe the 13th or this 14th, used, put this on your bookshelf. It'll be a reference for years and years and years to come. I will point out that there's also an essentials book of this, which is like the first 16 chapters, but I recommend if you're going to use it as a resource, a reference book for years to come, as a beginner, get the big one. It's the big book. It's like 1,000 pages or so. Yeah, it's like 1,100 pages. So that is my recommendation. And I would have recommended this to you 10 years ago. Actually 10 years ago when I first started using it. Before I ever even knew. I don't think Cengage was even Cengage when I started using this book. It was Thompson. So, all right. And then there are other types of trade books you can pick up that have a good reputation and a good sort of pedigree behind them. Statistics for Dummies is one I mentioned, but there are similar books, that you could start out as. But honestly, sometimes just watching, my YouTube videos or other YouTube videos can do just as good a job as reading the book. But I do think there is a value to having a book like Statistics for Business and Economics on your bookshelf as a reference. I use it all the time. I use it all the time as a reference or for ideas, or if I need something explained to me in a very clear way. Right? Okay. Getting ready to wrap this up here in a few minutes. So now is your last chance to ask anything, put in some comments, questions, or whatever else. Okay. Everything you have said is exactly my point, my department's views. Yeah. One thing I will say obviously my YouTube work is completely separate from my work at Cengage on the decision sciences team. However, they inform each other. So the things you all tell me and ask me and questions you have inform my knowledge, which obviously flows into my work at Cengage. And obviously some of the things I learned at Cengage flow into my work. There's a little bit of flow back and forth. So in my day job, we talk to instructors and program heads and deans and stuff all the time. So knowing how departments are seeing things obviously informs my views. And then obviously my work on YouTube quite honestly helps sell books and stuff, which is fine. It's not explicit. there's a value both ways. But yeah. So I kind of do have my finger on the pulse of what different colleges and programs are doing in their stats programs. Okay. Yes, thank you for your input. You are very, very welcome. I know, Venkatesh, my answer was long for this previous question. You know, how do we translate stats output to business language for business teams? Stats, you know, I think it's called Storytelling with Data, or Data Storytelling is a great book. But in the end, just tell a story like you're telling someone who doesn't know anything about stats. And actually, we do it all the time. We just don't realize we're doing it all the time. So you are very welcome. All right. So you're very, 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 very welcome. So again, if you're a stats beginner, by the way, this book right here that I work on in my day job and I've used for 10 plus years is by far the market leader in its field. And there's also a modern business statistics that has a bit more of an Excel flavor. So if you want a little bit more of an Excel flavor, it'll say modern business statistics. This is more classical statistics. That's software agnostic, but 95% of the content is the same. One just has a bit of an Excel flavor to it. So, but it's a great book for beginners because they write in a way that's so clear that you get exactly what you need to get. It's very efficient in the way it explains things with plenty of examples, explains some of the math behind everything without going too much into the math. So this book and modern business statistics are great for beginners. All right. Okay. I think that is most of the questions. I'm going to go through them just in case I missed something. I don't think I missed everything. I don't think I missed anything. Okay. Thank you for your valuable insights. You are very, very welcome. Of course, if I didn't get to a question or you think of something after the fact, you're more than happy to connect with me on LinkedIn, reach out to me on LinkedIn. As long as the question can be answered fairly quickly, I can answer it, pretty consistently. If you think of something after or something I did not get to, but you are very, very welcome. Of course. So we'll do this as well while I'm at it. So if you do want to reach out to me on there, so there's my LinkedIn profile. So you can always reach out to me there. It's pretty self-explanatory. LinkedIn is pretty self-explanatory. I have it set to follow, but if you want to connect with me, just hit the little, I think it's the more button or whatever, and you can see the connecting there if you haven't already. So, all right. I think we're going to wrap this dude up. And, all right, the next live stream, as of right now, will be 2 weeks from now, which is May 7th. And that's, believe it or not, that's going to mark my 10-year anniversary on YouTube. Actually, it's kind of between that date and the next live stream. So that will be 10 years on YouTube. It was May of 2012 when I started this whole thing. So I might do something special, either that live stream or the next live stream, depending on how busy I am. I might show you some behind the scenes stuff. Take a mobile camera around the house or something like that. I don't know. Maybe not. But that'll mark 10 years on YouTube in early May. So we are going to be back together on Saturday, May 7th. So if you have any questions or comments you want to ask then, you can submit them on my website. There's a little, pull this back up just really quickly. So here at the top, there's a contact me and a live stream question form. If you click on that, of course, this is where I've broken too. Nope, it's there. You can put your information in here and put your question, and I can think about it ahead of time. It's easier to do that than try to answer these things in real time because I'm not like a human Wikipedia. All right. So you can contact me there using this little form on my website. Okay, right there. Okie dokie. Well, I'm gonna wrap this thing up. I'm gonna get on with my day. I'm gonna try to relax a bit today and nurse my sunburns and my body that was abused yesterday working outside. So I'm gonna relax. So thank you all so much for stopping by the live stream today. I really appreciate talking to you all. It's such an honor to have you all with me on the channel and on this stream. Trust me, the honor is all mine. You all are the real heroes and the real superstars in all of this. I'm just here to provide resources when I can. I wish I could do more, but everyone has to have priorities and what they spend their time on, and I just do this when I can. So, but I'm glad you find it helpful, and I look forward to seeing you again on YouTube and here on the live stream in 2 weeks, which is Saturday, May 7th. So take care and have an awesome day for all the awesome, incredible people that you all are. So take care and bye-bye.